Good morning, everybody. Welcome into 104 The Fans Coffee Break. What's going on, everybody? We hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. Man, it really feels like a Thursday here today. You got D-Mac and Rachel V. Hill hanging out with you. Well, we're also going to have Cecil Lammy come on to talk about all the new players that are coming to Denver, and our very own Brandon Stokley will also be joining the show. But D-Mac, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rachel. It looks to be a beautiful day out there. I know it's going to be warm temperatures. Good day to get outside. I actually brought the bike downstairs to put on a trainer, and I hate riding my bike inside. So I think I'm going to pop it off and get outside for a little bit today. It's a necessary evil, Rachel. I absolutely positively hate it, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like 68 degrees today. So
I know.
Beautiful
It looks
weather
absolutely gorgeous.
For November, I will take it. But yesterday, the news breaking that Bradley Chubb is headed to Miami to join the Dolphins. In my personal opinion, I bet he's got to be pretty stoked about that one, although sad about leaving Denver. But Michael Spencer caught up with him yesterday as he was leaving the Broncos facility for the last time. Take a listen.
Reaction, man, to the news. What are you thinking?
It's the business side of it. I understand that. It sucks at the moment, but just because the guys I'm leaving back, the relationships I built over these past couple of years, and just like walking into this facility every day is going to be different, so going to a different one. But I'm excited about the new journey God has for me and for me and my family, so I'm looking forward to it.
Is there a sense of closure? Because you've been asked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of just all come to a halt, you know what I mean? And even earlier today, I was kind of up in the air how I should feel and stuff like that, so now it's good to be in the right state of mind and understand what the task at hand is now and just go out there and execute.
What do you got? A lot of ups and downs here.
Yeah.
What are you going to miss most about Denver?
Like I said, the people, the relationships I built, just guys like Draymond, who I've seen come in, Sosa, who I've seen come in, and Josie and Cortland, people I came in with. And I don't want to keep naming people because I'm going to forget somebody, but just all those guys, all those relationships. And my only regret probably is just not finishing, you know what I'm saying, where we started, you know what I mean? And it's been fun. It's been a hell of a journey. I'm just looking forward to the next part of my career.
What are your thoughts on Miami, or do you have any right now?
It's kind of up in the air right now. You know what I mean? I'm trying to still figure everything out, but I know the young talent they got over there. I'm excited to be a part of it. I know they're doing some good things, and they just had a comeback win last week, and you see guys over there believing and stuff like that. So just going to add whatever I can add to that group and be the best group.
As he heads to Miami, I know they had a private plane come for him yesterday as we welcome in Cecil Lammy. Cecil, how are you this morning?
Yeah, I love how Bradley Chubb's like, hey, what do you know about Miami? Not a lot. They just had a comeback win, and they got a young talent, and he lists off all these things. So he's excited. We should all be excited for him.
No, I agree. Okay, so we need to talk about the new players that are coming in. Obviously, you're a draft expert. You pay attention to everything going around in the NFL. Tell us about Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds is a player coming out of Fordham years ago. Saw him at the Shrine game. There's your bingo card. In the same year as Philip Lindsay. So we have to go back as D-Mac fills it out. The same year of Philip Lindsay. So Philip Lindsay practiced on the other team, whether it was East or West, I can't remember. So I'd see him in the afternoon, but in the morning, I'd see Chase Edmonds. And coming out of Fordham, you look at a back that's listed at 210. He actually runs a little bit larger than that, but he's got the skill of a smaller back. Think of like a not as good of a runner, but Clinton Portis type, where he's a smaller guy, but he can run inside. I think he's underrated as a runner. He actually wasn't featured much as a runner, no matter where he was stopped at. And I think he could be if you wanted him to. He's a slasher. He's got quickness, speed, and electricity, good feet. And he loves the Texas route, D-Mac. The Texas route should return for the Broncos because he can play slot receiver. I know there's an RB next to his name, but it actually should be OW because he's lined up in the slot before. He's mainly a receiving back, and coming out of college, you just have scouts compare him to Austin Eckler of that time. Not Austin Eckler of today, best in the NFL, but of the way Austin Eckler was used as a reserve behind Melvin Gordon, ironically. That's how Chase Edmonds was thought of when he came into the league.
Okay, so go ahead, D-Mac.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you thought Melvin Gordon makes it through the season without getting
I'm not sure about that. I know this. You could go with Latavius Murray and Chase Edmonds all day and just have that as your backfield because Edmonds is the best receiving back you have now, and he's good in pass protection. Murray's the best runner that you have, so there's really not a spot for Gordon here. Marlon Mack's a good runner as well, good kind of all-purpose guy too. So we shall see, and also for next year, because Javonte Williams may never be the same again, okay? And I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I believe because of that devastating knee injury. Edmonds could actually start for you if you needed him to next season while Javante's either on the pup or you ease him back in like week 1 of 2023.
That was kind of going to be my question is, okay, so they now have a bunch of different running backs. What the heck is the future going to look like? Does that mean Mike Boone didn't impress with, the talk that he had around him? And yeah, does that just mean Melvin Gordon is no longer? Well, and we know that after next year too.
Yeah, you got a better version of Mike Boone, basically, in Chase Edmonds, and that's what the Broncos are looking for. They're going to be multiple in the backfield. As much as I am old school and I love the bell cow, that's not the way. If Nathaniel Hackett is the coach, that's not the way it's going to operate. It's going to be 2 backs, and maybe for a little bit now, it's going to be 3 backs.
Okay, sounds good. Tell us about Jacob Martin from the Jets.
Yeah,
filling
in. He's basically an Aaron Patrick replacement. I don't think anyone should look at much of anything there. Not good against the run, so he's not going to set the edge. He's 240. He can't add that 10 pounds of muscle. He's already there. He's already maxed out on his frame, but he's a good rotational pass rusher and special teams guy. So that's what they get there. So, I've seen people on Twitter be like, it's a Chubb replacement. No, it's not. It is basically an Aaron Patrick kind of guy that can come in, rotate as a rusher, don't have him out there against the run because it's not going to end well, and throw him on special teams, see what you get.
I love how you say that, as literally Ian Rappaport says, help or expected to fill the void left by Bradley Chubb. No. That's why you got to listen to in-market people. They can give you the real stuff, right, Cecil?
Yeah, that's right. And guys, if they're healthy, Randy Gregory's that guy. Baron Browning's that guy. The future of this team are Baron Browning and Nick Bonito. The Gregory thing was a mistake, in my opinion. It always will be. But whatever, he's here. He's fine when he's healthy. He's never healthy. So there you go. Browning, Bonito, the Killer Bees. That's what it's about.
I'm excited, though, for Jacob on a Colorado personal level. And my knowledge of high school is very narrow because it's when my kids started going to high school to when they ended going to high school. And Jacob was apparently at Cherokee Trail he finished just before as my older son was getting to high school. So I kind of missed out. I didn't realize that he was a Cherokee Trail Aurora guy. But, it's always so exciting when local guys get that opportunity. And, sitting here in the heart of the Centennial League in the Cherry Creek School District, I'm pumped. I get it, what you're saying, and I'm not holding out hope that it's any kind of, humongous superstar moment. I just think it's cool. From Cherokee Trail to the Broncos facility down 470, maybe a 10-minute drive, so yeah. It's just a one of those neat sort of things.
Yeah, and I just wish that Albert Okwuegbunam would have been traded so they could sign Dalton Keene back because he's still just down the road, Rachel, from Roxborough, so he lives at Trailmark. So I'd love to see Dalton Keene from Chatfield get another. He was with the Broncos for like a week this year. Yeah. Bring him back.
And by the way, we found out that there is no value for Alberto at the end of the day. Isn't that crazy? No value. Nobody wanted him because they would have traded him for literally anything. And so to find out a guy has and they were pushing him. Trust me, they were pushing him and they just couldn't get any buyers. So I guess you just keep him, Cease. There's no necessarily reason to dump him. I guess you just
what's the disconnect with him? Because Albert Okwuegbunam is big and fast and physical and he doesn't block. We already knew that, but Greg Dulcich is the same thing, but Dulcich is out there trying. So what's it? Can Okwuegbunam watch Dulcich and be like, well, they're featuring him as a receiver and he's not a great blocker, but he's trying. Dulcich, make no mistake about it, he's not George Kittle. Okay, he's not a good blocker, but he's an effort guy and he's trying. So why can't Alberto kind of do some of that and they could use him too?
Who knows? Seasons take weird twists and turns. What you just recognize about a season is probably where you exist right now. And right now there was no market for Alberto because they certainly would have dealt him if they could have. It's just a wild, falling off the cliff for a guy who was the starter at training camp. And, kind of a falling off the cliff, in the world for Calvin Anderson. Now, that's why you keep guys around because dudes get hurt. But, that is a break extra glass in case of emergency. And he is your starting left tackle, which is wild.
I think it's just sad that Cam Fleming is the guy that told him he was getting benched. Like, this is why Butch Berry needs to be fired immediately. Like, you can't go to a guy, to a man to man, and just say, hey, we're going a different direction. It was Cam Fleming who tapped him on the shoulder and said, you're out. Like, that's wrong to me. Butch Berry is so wrong for this team.
That's
and I bet you if there's anybody that goes away, I would guess that it may be Butch Berry, because they'll do a lot of self-assessment. Though the players actually got cut loose yesterday. They didn't have to. The Broncos coaches could have kept the players today by league rules, but they didn't, and I'm fine with that. They cut them loose. That's all good. But the coaches aren't cut loose. They'll be sitting down looking at things. So do not be surprised if Butch Berry doesn't make it back from vacation.
Did we also learn that there's no value for Melvin Gordon then? Because he was in those trade talks first that was going around.
Oh, so yeah. I don't think they kept him because they didn't want to get rid of him. We found that out too. And by the way, why would teams give up something for Melvin Gordon? I mean, why would you?
That kind of leads into my next point, though, Cecil, does this mean that this could possibly be the last team that we see Melvin Gordon play for?
Nah, I mean, there's always how many teams did Adrian Peterson play for at the end? You know what I mean? Like, there's always some Todd Gurley, you'll get a chance. You know what I mean? There's always somebody out there that's willing to bring in the veteran. But as Orlando said, the streets are cold, man. He was on free agency for the first wave, second wave, third wave, fifth wave. And only Baltimore brought him in. So yeah, it's a young man's game at that position at running back. It's a brutal position. So Gordon will get a shot, but it won't be. This is the last chance to do anything, basically.
Guys get just hurt all the time at running back. So, it all depends on how much Melvin Gordon, I suppose, wants to play football, how well he can keep himself in shape. To me, he's a guy that probably goes unsigned through the entire offseason, and somebody gets hurt in training camp. And and those guys oftentimes, and we've had it happen a million times here in Broncos land, where the guy will come in for like a day or two, and then they'll be like, and get him out of there. Such is the life as a running back. And, most careers, guys, do not end with a flourish and trumpets at a big press conference. Most careers end with guys just staring at the phone as it doesn't ring.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Also, Broncos land, come on. We don't even need to get into that.
John Elway said it. I'm just using the immortal words of John Elway.
I know.
That's what he called it.
Still just awful.
Well, take it up with John.
I will if I ever see him. Bradley Chubb, we did find out, will be taking the number 2 in Miami. So who won the deal between Miami and Denver, Cecil?
Yeah, I mean, does Miami go on and make a deep postseason run or win a Super Bowl? That will determine a winner. The Broncos, though, like I know Mace disagreed with me. Like, are you surprised by what the Broncos got? And Mace is like, nah, they could always get a first rounder. Really? Are they not looking at this guy's medicals? Like, even dating back to college, and off the top of my head, D-Mac, correct me if I'm wrong, even high school, he had a high school knee injury. I could be mistaken there, but like
2 ACLs on the same knee and another ACL on the other knee.
Yes. Yeah, and one was from high school, and then college, and then the pros. So it's like, wait a second, you're giving a first rounder for that? I know they could play fast and loose with that because they had some extra assets from the 49ers, but it's like, no, I think the Broncos won this one because that first rounder doesn't have to be a player. It could be multiple picks. You could move back in the first round, or it could be Sean Payton. So either way, I think the Broncos won this one, barring the Dolphins making some sort of deep postseason run.
All right, here's my thing, though. What are the odds that actually Sean Payton ever becomes Broncos head coach?
You got an ownership group that's not afraid to. They got all the money in the world. So paying Nathaniel Hackett to go away, whatever. And now they have a first round pick to trade New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean that they have more value right now with that first round pick than they had before. Listen, Cecil. Yeah, I was surprised too. The value of Bradley Chubb was a first rounder. But that is what happens, guys, when teams really feel like they can win right now. The leading sacker for the Dolphins, I think, has 3 sacks on the year. They're in a desperate situation with a pretty darn good team. This is how it works when you're a buyer, not a seller. The most disappointing thing, for sure, and Mason did write about this at DenverFan.com, is how frustrating it is for the Broncos to be a seller once again. Yeah, okay, you got Edmonds, but that's not really buying. That's I don't know what that is. It's it's kind of stocking the fridge. It's not buying a new refrigerator. It's just something you put there. It's not the essence of what you really are building upon. So I got no problems. And if Edmonds turns out to be incredible, fine. Nobody's counting on the 4th round pick to necessarily be anything. And if we don't use that draft pick for Sean Payton, talk about a no-brainer pick in terms of just offensive tackle. And theoretically, it was somebody in college who is playing left tackle who could also play right tackle. You've got to have a little bit of flexibility. And I've looked at mocks already, Cecil. And actually, a dude came up from Syracuse as a possible offensive tackle. But I've also seen a kid from Maryland. And, the world is filled with good possible right tackles in the 20s. That is actually where you should get a starting right tackle. Left tackle.
They need a starting left tackle, but that's that's a different show.
You get into a weird little world there because I'm looking at the mocks on that too, and sure enough, there's 3 or 4 left tackles that are already mocked in the top 15. Not a surprise. That happens every year. And then you get down a little bit of a wormhole, like, well, are you going to move up if you really do need a left tackle? That would really disappoint me, though, Cease. Hey, let me ask you this, Cecil. Could Garrett Bowles play right tackle?
No.
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 Play left. Okay.
Well, so it's going to be a tackle, or it's going to be Sean Payton.
It needs to be 100%.
It has to be. Well, no, we don't have anybody else. Yeah. Everybody's contract is expiring or they stink. Yeah. So you just don't have somebody to play the position. I don't know how else to put it.
No, 100%. They need to tackle. Cecil, as always, appreciate your time. And thank you so much as we bring in Brandon Stokley because he's the winner of our King Supers Pick'em this week. I know. Unbelievable.
What?
Two-time.
This is ridiculous.
That's right.
The same people just keep winning. There's like 25 people playing this stupid game.
There's a lot of people playing. It's tough to do, and it takes a lot of skill. So that's why the same people keep winning it, because it's not luck, it's skill. And so I'm back for my second time. I'm so excited to be back, Rachel. Thank you for having me. And, it took me a lot longer to get back than I thought it would.
Oh, my God.
So I plan on my next stop being here. It won't be as long from week 1 to, week 8 or whatever we're in right now. So I'll be back a little bit quicker next time.
Okay, Stoke, I need some insight because I want a King Supers gift card. So what do I need to be looking at? Because it just feels like this NFL is so unpredictable that when I feel really confident in a team, someone like the Seattle Seahawks comes in and is like, I got this.
It's a crazy world right now in the NFL. It's so hard to figure it out. Once you think you got it figured out, it's like, how did that team just beat that team? What is going on here? So, I don't know. I wish I had a good answer for that, or a good philosophy on what to do and what to look for. But it does, like you look at the Patriots and the Bears 2 weeks ago, and the Patriots are at home. And against a bad Bears team, and they lay an egg, and the Bears end up beating them. So it's NFL. It's crazy. It's tough. It's tough to do.
It drives me crazy that I came close 1 week and then Jake took it from me. So
Jake.
I know. Gosh, what a booty.
Yeah. What a booty.
Yeah. I could think of a PG nice word. No.
Are we PG here? Is this PG? Just making sure we're not a podcast here, and we, not that I have to worry about that, because my vocabulary is nothing but clean.
Oh, 100%, Stokely. We know you didn't play in the NFL at all. No, not at all. Tell me, what's your grade for this Bradley Chubb trade?
I love it. I think it's a great trade for the Broncos. I think it can be a really good trade for the Dolphins also. I think it's a situation where Broncos needed draft picks. They weren't going anywhere this year. They're not re-signing Bradley Chubb. So, what are we doing? We're going to hold on to him at the end of the year and win, 7 games? Who cares? Let's move on. You got younger guys that you want to take a look at, and you get a first-round pick, and I think that's a big win for the Denver Broncos trying to replenish this roster. They kind of made their decision last year when they signed Randy Gregory, They drafted Nick Bonito, and you love Baron Browning, and you still really like Jonathan Cooper. That those guys are your future. You're not going to be able to pay Bradley Chubb $100 million. It makes no sense to do that. So I really like the move from George Paton and getting a first-round pick from Bradley Chubb. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it. So they got a first-round pick. So I think it's a great trade for the Broncos.
No, I'm with you. What do you think that they should do with this first-round pick?
Well, I mean, that's tough to say right now. I don't know exactly where it's going to be. You don't know what's going to be available. But, look, you could pretty much spin the wheel and just point at a position and say, besides running back, and say, hey, and quarterback, and say that would be a good one to pick. I mean, there's a lot of needs on this football team. So offensive line, I heard y'all talking about that earlier. Anywhere on the offensive line, really. There's no position that you look at and say, this guy's going to be here in 2 years and be our starter there. So definitely that could be a spot. Inside linebackers a spot. You're always looking for good cornerbacks. Obviously, you got Surtain, but who's going to be opposite him next year? So a lot of positions up for grabs with that first round pick.
Hey, how good is that kid from Tennessee that Payton's probably pretty into these days? How real is what's the Hooker? Something Hooker, Hayden Hooker, something like that?
I don't know, man. Yeah, look, that's a question for Payton. Maybe next time I see him, I'll ask him. No, I haven't really followed and watched. I've watched Tennessee, but I haven't, sat down and watched him on tape to see what kind of player he is. Obviously, he's been doing really well right now, so we'll see.
Okay.
Stokely, when are we going to see you on the Manning cast?
He keeps on texting and calling to try to get me on. He was trying to get me on that Bears Patriots game, and I couldn't do it. So they got Obama to do the first half because I couldn't do it. And I'm just really busy, Rachel. I'm just really busy. Got a lot going on at the home. And
I know you're busy. I'm ready for it because I know you guys are super close. So I can only imagine the jokes and like the stuff that would go back and forth. Like I'm waiting patiently.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just really busy. Got a lot going on Monday nights, and so it's tough to fit those two guys into my schedule. Maybe at some point, I don't know. This year I'm looking, and my Mondays are, like I said, really, really busy. So maybe it might have to be next year. I'll try to start clearing some stuff out of my calendar for next year.
The golf season, it never ends, right, Stoke?
That's right. Absolutely. Yep.
Stoke, as always, my last question for you. What are you going to be buying from King Soopers this week? It better be something good. Last time you said Gatorades. It's got to be something good.
I said Gatorades, Pedialytes, bananas. Maybe I'll go down the cold beverage section and treat myself to, maybe a case of cold beverages and some chips. You got to go with some salt. You got to get some salt with that. So some Tostitos, chips, and dip. So I'm pretty simple. There's nothing. I might get some. We still got some good weather here, so some steaks. They always have good deals on steaks, and you can find some good sales on some good steaks there. So I might give me a couple ribeyes and throw them on the grill. Have my cold beverages and some chips. I'm ready to go.
You know what we've noticed? Not one person who has won this lousy thing, probably because there's only been like 2 people that have actually won it, have actually used that $100 to like buy stuff for everybody else at the radio station. They're all just little piggies, including you, Rachel. Including you.
$5 a gallon, all right, D-Mac? We got to fend for ourselves at this time.
So you're using your King Soopers money for gas?
I said for milk.
Oh, for milk.
Oh, milk.
$5 a gallon, pretty much.
I'm sorry.
I thought she was talking about gas also. I was like, you can use that for gas. I think you can.
You
I
might
think
be
you
able
can too, actually. Yeah,
you absolutely.
That might be what I do with
that would be a ride if somebody just
I got 2 of them. I've won 2 of them, so I didn't know if you knew that.
Hey, you got 2 of them.
Do you want me to use my King Soopers gift card to buy food for like everyone here? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying
no. Not for me.
Stoke and I are on the same page. It's fun for yourself here. Until
That's right.
until you win and you do it, then maybe others will follow suit.
Well, listen, the good news is if you get $100 and you can buy gas, you can fill up half a tank these days. So you'd be good.
No kidding.
Gas is going down a little bit, isn't it?
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're
Thank
good.
goodness.
I'm just gonna keep riding my bike.
There you go.
There you go. We got a bike rider, we got a golfer, and Pilates girl right here. Stokely, as always, appreciate you. Congratulations on winning King Super's Pick'em this week, and thanks for hanging out. After the show's done, go listen to Stoke and Zach at 11 a.m., everybody. It's always a good time over there. Thanks, Stoke.
Thank y'all.
All righty. D-Mac, I'm
Rachel,
over the Sean Payton thing. I'm over it because I just don't see it happening, and I
it's
feel
not
like I'm
gonna-
getting my
it's-
hopes
it's
up
not
all the
gonna
time.
happen. It's
I know,
not
and I just feel like I'm getting my hopes up all the time when everyone's like, "Oh, bring in Sean Payton." I think it just needs to be
It's not
over.
going to happen. The big news from yesterday is now we all know what George Payton has been telling Greg Penner. He's been telling him it's a first time coaching staff. It's a young team.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some bumps in the road. We're gonna trade Bradley Chubb. He revealed that. He told them so. They've been telling that forever. No matter what the record was, as long as we got a first round pick, we were gonna trade Bradley Chubb. So it didn't matter if they're 5-3, 6-2, 7-1, 8-0. Doesn't matter, and that's hard for a lot of people to sort of accept and understand. In fact, some people still think George Payton's fibbing about that. He's not. There's other things that he's probably not telling the whole truth. I'm not going to say he was lying, but not being honest about everything. But I do think he was honest about that yesterday. And it's beyond clear. Now, this is tough news, Rachel, for Broncos fans that actually spend the time, energy, and effort, money, to go to the games. They don't want to hear that this year, again, is about the development of a team. They thought this year the Broncos were going to go to the playoffs. They were going to win at least 10 games. You did have Russell Wilson. So to just hear again, not that it was a bad move to do, it was the right move to do. We talked all about how they should do this move. So it was. What was just shocking was the element of honesty. And I can't blame a guy for being honest. But he was honest. They were going to do this move no matter what. Mm-hmm. And this is not about winning this year. Mm-hmm. Now, you could say they're just pushing the car down the street a little bit without any gas, and we're looking for a fill-in station. And I guess next year they start winning and go to the playoffs. I mean, I guess. What's frustrating, Rachel, is this will be the 7th year in a row the Broncos missed the playoffs. I mean, that is tough. They're going to have to do some amazing things to not be under 500 for the 6th year in a row. Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but Rachel, in order for that to happen, Rachel, with 9 games left, they'd have to go 6-3 in order to avoid a lose 6-3. Can you imagine how excited we would be right now if the Broncos were about to be 6-3, one more game, you throw it on there? And let's not forget, Rachel, they're now going into, that's right, the toughest part of their schedule. 2 of their 3 wins were against the Texans and against the Jaguars, which are, 2 of the worst teams in the league. The win over the Niners is like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. That's amazing. You just don't have any. Well, we'll see where the Raiders are at. We'll see what the Panthers are at. I mean, maybe those are 2 wins. Maybe you pull those out. But other than that, Rachel, of the 7 other games, they're all going to be really, really tough. It's just hard to realize, Rachel, this is another developmental year.
Yeah. It's going to take, to be completely honest, unless there's a drastic turnaround, teams just overlooking the Broncos. And that's how you can sneak a win in against some of these, a Ravens team or a Chiefs team.
It happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. It happens all the time. The any given Sunday cliche it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. So sure. I mean, they beat the Cowboys around this time last year. And I mean, nobody expected that. And they did that on the road. So I would assume there'll be a game like that in there for the Broncos. That'd be a good one. I mean, that would be shocking. Mm-hmm. To beat the Ravens on the road would be absolutely shocking. To beat Kansas City in Kansas City would be shocking. Yep. There's moments, but they didn't get better for this year because of what they did yesterday. They did not. what they did yesterday was they didn't get better by losing Bradley Chubb and getting Edmonds as a running back. That didn't happen, Rachel.
Yeah.
So it's just tough, man. It's just tough. It's tough. You know, you spend all this time, energy, excitement. You know, we see Justin Allen saying we're going to score a lot of points at Nuggets games, and all the energy of Nathaniel Hackett, and we got Russell Wilson, and you know all this stuff. So you get charged up, and then you realize, like we did yesterday, the Broncos weren't believing the hype. Not really. Like the Broncos realized what was going on, and here is the really confounding part. If you're George Payton and you knew you were always going to trade Bradley Chubb, and it really wasn't about winning this year because you had other layers to develop, why did you commit so much money to Russell Wilson without just playing out this entire year?
I wish I had the answer to that. There's so many questions, and again, we've got to give credit to Mike Evans because he said don't pay him until you see him play a game. There's so many questions though when it comes to the Russell Wilson contract. And again, if they really thought that this year was going to be a still rebuilding year, it doesn't even make the slightest bit of sense to pay him.
Yeah, we are in the decision to pay him is really confounding because everything else in the offseason pointed towards trading Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
So if everything is about trading Bradley Chubb, then we should have all been okay, including Russell Wilson, with just like, let's see how everything goes.
Yes.
And I get it. You gave up a king's ransom for Russell Wilson. You got a little bit of it back because now you got a first-round draft pick, and maybe that was the plan overall. But you didn't have to sign Russell Wilson. You didn't have to do it. You could have easily waited a year. And as things turned out, based so far, not only could you have signed Russell Wilson after the end of this year if you wanted to, Rachel, certainly the cost would have been, much cheaper. Or you would have given yourself flexibility at the quarterback position, even though it would have deeply stung to give up so much. The problem is, Rachel, if you start with a new quarterback, Rachel, you hit that reset button for 3 years. You do. You just do. And if you start with a new coach and a new quarterback and all that, it is just like 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. So when you passed on Josh Allen for Bradley Chubb, okay, 3-year reset, and then you just never got your feet under you after that. What this is the end of that epic debate that really shouldn't have been epic in the first place. It was a terrible, terrible mistake. And my God, Mike Evans, give it up with the Josh Rosen stuff. Holy cow. I mean, you got to just calm down, dude. The decision was made not about Josh Rosen. It was about Josh Allen and to a lesser degree, Lamar Jackson. Josh Rosen was never, ever in serious consideration for the Denver Broncos. Yeah. Ever. Would a quarterback in 2018 been better than a pass rusher? Well, as it turns out, Rachel, the answer is actually yes. Mm-hmm. And people say all the time, if you get a quarterback and he's a bust, he sets your organization back X amount of years. Well, what did drafting Bradley Chubb at 5 do? Well, how think about not having a quarterback. How far did that set your organization back?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a great point. Yeah, and Zach Bide put this poll out and said, was Bradley Chubb a bust in Denver? 49% saying yes, he was a bust. No, not a bust was only 50.8. So really, people kind of have 50-50 views on what Bradley Chubb actually meant here in Denver.
Well, they're wrong. He was completely a bust because you have to think about what value you're supposed to bring at that particular position. When you draft Von Miller as the first pass rusher at number 2 overall, he was a Super Bowl MVP. Mm-hmm. You didn't even get to the playoffs with Bradley Chubb. Von Miller's going to be a first ballot slam dunk Hall of Famer, Ring of Famer. There should be a statue of Von Miller outside of Empower Field or whatever, Walmart Dome, whatever it's going to be. You put a statue there. Bradley Chubb will have to buy tickets on StubHub if he wants to go to a game. Bradley Chubb will be, he'll be riding on a lime to get to a game when he's done. You know, Von Miller may be in the owner's box. Von Miller may be an owner. I don't know. It'll be Condi Rice and Melody Hobson and Sir Lewis Hamilton and Von Miller. I don't know. But the trajectory of those two guys who were drafted to do the same thing could not be more wildly different. And thus, Bradley Chubb, yes, he was a bust as a 5th overall pick.
Yeah.
And certainly he was a catastrophic bust to what should have been with Josh Allen here.
Could you even imagine the Broncos with Josh Allen? It's an interesting.
Well, yes.
Yes, also, I want real quick. I want to give you credit. It only brought you 30, or it only took you 32 minutes into the show today to bring up Josh Allen. So, continue.
Listen, it's painful. It gets more painful by the week, by the game. Josh Allen, Mike, with the Josh Rosen stuff, give it a rest, dude. I mean, you know, nobody is buying what you're trying to sell. Nobody even understands what you're selling. You're like at a lemonade sale with rocks.
Josh Rosen's a name you hear, and you're just like, okay, moving on to a different conversation. This is actually a good question, though. Who's the bigger bust? Is it the Trey Lance Miami deal that went down because of obviously of everything that now Miami has gotten, or is it the Broncos missing out on Josh Allen? Let's just
it's the Broncos
draft. Which one's
No. It's the Broncos missing out on Josh Allen by a mile. Trey Lance is a good quarterback. Trey Lance will get healthy.
But Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. Those are 3 spectacular players right there. Those are household name players.
Yeah, but Rachel, you have to understand none of that means anything unless they get Tua Tagovailoa playing well. And Tua Tagovailoa is playing well. All of those guys happened after you got the quarterback of the future. Nothing can happen in San Francisco unless you make similar types of plans. And whether they work out or not actually doesn't matter. You have to use the right strategy to give yourselves a shot. There are no guarantees. And by the way, it's not like Tua has had smooth sailing off the Atlantic there in Miami. It's not like he's been incredible in Key Biscayne. He's looking better now, that's for sure. And they're giving it the right amount of patience. No, I think Trey Lance is going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. And the 49ers, by the way, they don't mess around. They are reinventing themselves on the fly. And getting Christian McCaffrey is a hell of a deal.
No, okay, agreed. Here's my thing with Josh Allen. Not saying that you're wrong. It's just we don't know if he would have came to the Broncos that this coaching staff could have built him up to be the quarterback that he is today.
I've heard that argument a million times, and I contend that had they drafted and had the smarts to draft Josh Allen in the first place, they would have made other significant coaching changes because of it. They would have had a different overall philosophy, period. And so we wouldn't have had the same coaches. We would have been on board to make Josh Allen work, and we would have reacted accordingly. So to think that, we get Josh Allen and what? Everything stays the same? VJ gets fired for Vic Fangio. Fangio gets fired for this guy. All the same, Pat Shurmur comes here. No, Rachel, that's just not what would have happened.
So what would have happened?
Well, they would have customized everything around Josh Allen, and that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills did. That's why they brought in Brian Daboll to be the offensive coordinator, and they replaced Daboll, who's now doing great with the Giants, with Ken Dorsey, another offensive whiz. So, and they gave the play calling away, and the head coach just was the head coach, and Sean McDermott. Listen, Rachel, they brought in other players. Like Josh Allen attracts Diggs. Josh Allen attracts other stars. Josh Allen attracted Von Miller.
But that took time. It's not like right off the bat, everyone was like, oh my gosh, this Josh Allen kid is fantastic, blah, 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 blah. Like, it took time for him to become a house.
It's like, Rachel, he came in halfway through his rookie year and got his feet wet. His second year, he was the starter. And yeah, there were some bumpy moments, but he had 20 touchdown passes and 9 rushes for a touchdown, 29 total touchdowns. And then in the third year, it was over. He was great. By the third year, which was, what are we talking about? 16, 7, 23. After about 23 starts, he was good to go, period, the end. And then the Bills were a playoff team.
I apologize because there have been so many quarterbacks. Who was the quarterback for the Broncos during the time that Josh Allen got drafted?
It was Case Keenum. And
So you think Josh Allen would have came in and been behind Case Keenum?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly the way it should have been. That's exactly how this is. Listen, it's the Glennon Trubisky doctrine that I've laid out, is that you move up because the Bears moved up 3-2. Now, listen, would I sound a lot smarter if I called it the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes doctrine? Sure, for sure I would. But it's the same exact thing. You have a veteran quarterback that steers the ship and mentors the younger guy who you're eventually committed to. That is exactly what happened with Glennon Trubisky, and that's exactly what happened with Smith and Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes started one game for the Chiefs his rookie year. It was against the Broncos. I was there. And they went to the playoffs with Alex Smith, and then the next year they moved on to Mahomes. It would have worked perfectly for the Broncos, perfectly with Case Keenum being the starting quarterback for, 8, 9, 10 games, whatever it is, and then you hand it over to Josh Allen at that point, and just away you go. In fact, if you do that, you can keep Case Keenum, as he has proven to be a very solid backup quarterback.
Okay, Alex Smith here, would we say? Case Keenum here?
Sure.
Maybe even a little bit more?
Yeah, okay. I mean, Alex Smith is a legitimate playoff quarterback.
Case Keenum was what?
What's that?
Case Keenum was not.
Well, he had one great year, and he had a miracle throw in Minnesota over the Saints because they forgot how to tackle. And, you got to
can't look at him equal.
It's equal enough. Listen, Alex Smith started for the entire year and started for them in the playoffs too. I don't think Case Keenum would have gone quite that far. But people always say, oh, well, Justin Fields would have been a bust for the same reason. And I say, no. You had Teddy Bridgewater, Rachel. He would have been the perfect mentor to Justin Fields. And Fields
Smith, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, they're all kind of right there, right? They're all backup quarterbacks. They're all mentor quarterbacks. They're all quarterbacks that can win in the league, and they're all quarterbacks that can help a young guy get to the next level. All of them.
Okay, another question then. We've got Alex Smith, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater. Where's Russell Wilson right now in the mix of all?
Oh, well, Russell Wilson should. If those guys are there, Russell Wilson should be out of the picture.
But he's not.
Well, no kidding.
Barely above him, or is he underneath?
Oh my God! So you're asking me, would I rather have Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater over Russell Wilson?
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering
Russell Wilson is who he is right now. He's like the 22nd ranked quarterback in the NFL, Rachel. Of starting quarterbacks, he's around 22. Yeah. He has his QBR is, averaging between like 33 to 38 points, out of 100. Mm-hmm. He is right now, he's below average, and we're hoping to get to average. Yeah. If you can get to slightly above average, it would make him like the 12th, 13th best quarterback in the league. If he gets there, you can win. Yeah. If he gets there, you can actually win.
Trust me, I'd rather have Russell Wilson than those guys too. But it's just an interesting conversation to continue having. DMAC, as always, it is.
Are we done? Is that it?
I know. 45 minutes went like that. But guess what? We're back again tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Come hang out with us. Will Peterson will be on with us tomorrow morning, and James Marilat. We're gonna grade his London trip, so definitely come hang out with us. Thank you everybody for hanging out in the comments. We always appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Bye everyone.